All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin. What a morning. I just literally woke up about a couple of hours ago of our fantastic victory that we had against Arsenal. I've got Ryan here. We're going to do a tactical show. I think it's interesting to do the review straight after the game to get some raw emotions, but then it's also very, very interesting to sit down and actually break the game down a little bit to see exactly what went on. So without further ado, Ryan, my boy, how you doing?
No, man, I'm buzzing after that match, bro. Like, it's been a while since I've seen us play with a proper traditional center forward since Diego Costa. I know Giroud is that, but I know they're still different in the way they manhandle opposition and create space for each other. And it's been, I really missed it, man. It really reminded me of the Chelsea that we're used to seeing. So
100%, man. It 100% reminded me of the Chelsea of the olden days, but it's actually scary. I think Romelu Lukaku is probably better than some of those in terms of his physical presence. I think he is, and I know I might get slandered here a little bit, but I think his physical presence, the way he bullied Pablo Mari,
bro,
oh my
yo,
days. I mean,
oh
Diego
my,
Costa is fantastic, Drogba is fantastic, undoubtedly. But Lukaku is a different flavor, right?
yeah, and bro, I can't wait to get into it because his movement is very interesting too. It's not only at the center. We saw that he even held someone down on the right side and allowed space for Havertz and Mount to get forward centrally.
Yeah.
You remember that? But
Yeah.
I don't think Mount got the pass to Havertz. But that's just an example of the channels he can get into and run into. It's really make things impressive. I mean, not impressive, interesting for us.
100%, man, 100%. Right, let's get deep into it. I think we're gonna talk a lot more while we do the analysis. So I'm gonna bring up the tactical board. This is where you do your magic. I mean, let's start from the big topic, which is Romelu Lukaku. The way, as we've already mentioned, he bullied and attracted. At times, I saw literally three Arsenal players getting attracted by him, which was then opening a lot of space for Reece James on the right side, and also players like Havertz and Mount was just in acres of room as well. But let's start from where it was all beginning. It was Romelu Lukaku and his hold up, link up, and also the way sometimes we found the crosses into the box as well is a proper aerial threat. And the way he ghosted it, well, not really even ghosted in. He just knew the movement to make for that first goal, holds up the play, lays it off to Kovacic. Kovacic then finds Reece James, and Lukaku just bundles over Mari and then finds that spot, puts in a tap in goal. But yeah, man, take it away, my man.
Right. So, first thing I want to say is how interesting it is the change in dynamic with a physical presence like Lukaku. Yes, he's a target man, but by no way he is a normal target man. There's rarely players who has that physical presence with their back behind goal that they could hold down one, two, and drag in even three players.
Yeah.
And that creates a plethora of space for us. So many times, Miz, we talk about, imagine, say we had Timo or Havertz here where Lukaku is. So many times we would need our our attacking midfielder to stay up here where they're back toward the defenders so that Havertz or Werner could drop deeper and have that freedom to roam. And so many times we'd see like probably a Ziyech here and we'd say, why isn't Ziyech allowed the freedom to go here and here? We'd always complain that sometimes, but many times that could be a tactic so they could engage defenders here to give the freedom for our
Yeah.
for Havertz and Werner to drop in the space between the lines. Today that was different. We see that Lukaku would drop deep and he would, gather about 2 to 3 defenders with
Yeah.
him here. And what that did is it created a plethora of space not only between the lines, but it also created a lot of space for our wing back, Reece James in particular, to get
Reece
into this
James was
right
in
winger
acres of
position.
space, Ryan. He was in acres of space.
The thing is, it's I tweeted this earlier today that if you want to have a chance against this Chelsea team, especially with Lukaku, you need to set up and match with a back five because we are too
Mm.
wide, as Pep Guardiola would say. Yeah,
Wide.
yeah. We are too wide, man, and we would stretch any back four. When you have Lukaku and then you have Havertz and Mount dropping deep,
Mm.
we would stretch any back four, and it would create space on in that wide area for, we would see that we talk a lot about regimes being here a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is the difference. Let me bring in the ball here, just so we can see the
I love
difference,
it when
right?
you bring the ball out, man. I get so
That's what
excited.
she said. Yeah. So, sorry,
I love
PG
it. I love it.
PG.
I set myself up.
But yeah, let's just pretend this corner is where the defenders is at, right?
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. So let's just pretend. Um, Usually, what we'd see is that when we do not have a traditional center forward, right?
Mm.
Um, we'd see that the fullback is allowed to keep wide. He's allowed to have this zone here where he doesn't
Mm.
need to think too much about, trying to tuck in to mark anybody here because as you can see, we usually have Havertz and Werner roaming anywhere around here. So it doesn't call for the central defenders to leave in their position wide to
Yeah.
create that plethora of space. So what we'd see is that many times Reece James would have to essentially beat players while
Yeah.
dribbling to get in
Yep.
behind to
Spot
get that
on.
cross. But the thing
Yep.
is, Reece James isn't very effective at beating players like that
Mm.
with his dribbling. What would happen is that he would have a Mount here or a Hudson Odoi or whoever, or Havertz. He can do 1, 2 passes, then get into this position, then cross. That's no problem
Mm-hmm.
for Reece James. He's very good at that. Today
Mm.
was different, however. With the presence of Lukaku, and especially when he drops here, it would
Mm.
often have. Let me get more cones in, man.
By the way, these Arsenal players were a bit like the cones. Absolutely no substance.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Got to throw that in there, man. You've got to banter
Right.
Arsenal.
I don't even banter them anymore, to be fair, man. They're
I
just
mean,
it's
it's not
sad.
worth it, is it? It's really not worth it.
But when you think about it, right? Lukaku, he wasn't only playing with his back toward goal here. He would actually
Mm.
drop deep a lot and be that focal point for us, usually dragging not one but two defenders with him. The thing is,
Minimum
when you
two.
have an inside forward who can make that run in behind, it drags in the fullback also.
Yeah.
So what
Yep.
that does is that now Reece James can receive the ball here without having to dribble or beat players one on one like a Hudson Odoi would do.
Fantastic point.
So
Fantastic point, bro.
this just having this mere physical presence here opened that channel for Chelsea, and that's what we attacked again and again. And that's
Mm.
why we saw regimes flourish attacking wise, which he would not usually do. He's always
Mm.
good at sending in crosses, but rarely we see him get into as much space as he did this game. And that's
Mm.
all down to just the presence, the fear factor of having
Mm.
a striker like Lukaku, and not only Lukaku, but the surrounding cast who can get in
Yeah.
behind. Because having the surrounding cast tucked in could go in behind at any time. It's really a problem for defenders, especially a back four, man, and that's why we got them today. Let's move these cones out of the way a little bit. I want to, mention Lukaku,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth mentioning the supporting cast, the foundation of the system here today,
100%.
and
Yep.
that has to do with, we talk about so much about the system, but rarely we talk about the philosophy of play.
Mm.
And one thing I've realized, not through preseason to now, is the verticality in our play.
Bang on, bro. Bang
And
on.
a lot of people, when they hear ball playing center backs, they always think about Alaba and David Luiz playing these passes here. And while that is fantastic and it opens space for players to run into the final third, when I
Mm.
think about ball playing defensive players, I think about the simple medium pass that breaks one line of defense to get it here or here.
Mm.
Doesn't even have to go in behind. It's just to get it here, point A to B, point A to B, point A to B. And that's one difference we are seeing with in this philosophy, in this system, uh, under Tuchel, and we saw it today. We touched on Alonso's role. Why is he flourishing so much? And
Yep.
and
And it needs to
before,
be highlighted, Ryan. There's too
yeah,
much still disrespect about Alonso. And I must admit, I probably had a bit of disrespect for him before this season. But I have to admit, Ryan, Alonso is different in the last 3 games, man. He's so astute, brilliant, as you've mentioned previously as well, that he's helping out in midfield as well. Very tidy passes, does not get dispossessed. That's the other factor that I'm seeing about Alonso. You can't take the ball away from him.
but technically, my dad always says this. He even said past few seasons, name a better player on our squad that controls a ball better than Alonso. Hard, fast, pacey balls from long balls, whatever. His first
Tracks
touch
it
is always
nicely. Yeah.
immaculate. He cushions that ball, and the way he uses his body to hold on other players and not get dispossessed, and he's like a second target man in this squad. You can
He
always aim it
literally
toward
is.
Alonso.
Yeah.
And then it would allow what we saw today is that usually when you have Alonso receiving the ball here, you're not going to get Jorginho running in behind, eh?
Yeah.
But today what we saw is that when Werner plays as a left forward, he would create the tip of the diamond like this. So what we'd see is Alonso would pass the ball in behind and Werner would get in. You know?
Mm.
Today we
Mm.
saw a little difference in shape. Actually, what we saw is more Havertz coming here. So he wasn't really that tip of the diamond anymore.
Yeah.
His default position was kind of like here. So
Yeah.
now we kind of have a different shape. Let me just draw it so people can get an idea. But
Mm.
it was a shape kind of like this.
Absolutely bang on. And Havertz, a lot of the time from that position, was trying to find out Reece James.
Yes, and another thing is that yes, he was finding that pass here and he was actually making that runs, and he was
Mm.
very brilliant today. But the thing I think that was really nice to see today is how these two interchanged. So much times we would see Alonso dropping in and Havertz getting
Yeah.
behind. We'd
That
see
second goal, by the way, Ryan, was manufactured by those two.
exactly, and it's not only in getting into the final third, it's when we're under pressure too. Alonso acts as a target man. So how
Mm.
we have Lukaku as a target man when we want to move from here to here? But
Yep.
when we are progressing play, um, Alonso acts as a target man. This is what Mandzukic did when he played as a left winger under
Mm.
Allegri in a 4-2-3-1. Though he used to come here, and then I think who is the left back for Juventus? The Brazilian Sandro.
Alexandro.
Alexandro. So this is what they used to do. They used to the outlet that Chiellini and Sandro had was that they would use the left midfielder, which was Mandzukic, as a target man, and then from
Mm.
here you would have Higuain and Matuidi running in behind as a supporting cast. Then you would have Dybala getting in behind, and then Cuadrado running here, keeping the width. You know,
Mm.
I know this because I have no life and I watch too much football. So and let me just
Well,
get
blessed
back
to have you
into
in the channel.
but this is exactly what we saw here today. He acted as that target man today, and
Mm.
the 1-2 touches. I was so surprised with the chemistry these two had. It's like
Yeah.
it reminded me of Alonso and Hazard, because Alonso and Hazard, they always had an understanding that Alonso could do those one-touch flicks, and Hazard would do a
Mm.
flick, and Alonso would be there, and they would work together like that. I think that
Mm.
sometimes Havertz, he needs somebody. He's like a Ziyech. He needs somebody to be on that wavelength with him. If
Yep.
somebody's not on that wavelength with him, then you would see those sideways and backwards passing, what we saw
So
plenty of
true.
last season. But
So true.
today we have somebody alongside him, not only him, but also Kovacic is right there beside him, and we always had this kind of
By the way, I
when
just want to quickly shout out Kovacic. So underrated. People are not talking much about this guy. That pre-assist to our first goal was from Kovacic playing in that sort of middle of the park, finding Reece James. And There were so many times he was just controlling the ball in the middle and just spraying the passes nicely. And those vertical passes that you're referring to is something that I saw Kovacic do a lot of.
Yeah, and I did tweet that. I'm not gonna go off on a tangent here, but I
Mm,
did tweet that, that was one of the main reasons why, you know, we allowed Lukaku to suck in these two or three defenders, because
mm,
Lukaku always provided that vertical option here. And the
mm.
thing is, that's so important that Jorginho was also going for it. And
Yep.
then even Mount today, I think Mount final product in areas like here wasn't very good today when it comes to
Mm.
crossing. But I must commend him that he was raising his head up a lot looking for Lukaku from these
Yes.
positions also.
Yes.
And that's why I tweeted that Kante does 9 out of 10 things superbly. You know,
Mm.
he can dribble, he can win the ball, he can switch play, he can do
Mm.
short passes, interchange with each other to get out of pressure. But one thing I really want to say that, Kante is going to start over Kovacic, and nobody could replace Jorginho, right?
Yep. Yep.
One thing I want to see with Kante is that I want to see him looking for him, because
Yeah.
I know Kante is very good at looking for a wide ball, for this and that. He's very good at he's I think he's a good ball player, but I really
Yep.
want to see him look for here. And that people say Kante is 30 and you can't change a player. Now, this is not about changing a player. This is simply a tweak in mindset, because he
Mm.
has the
Mm.
ability to play a pass from here to here, A to B. It's just
Yes.
we have it ingrained in his mindset.
Mm.
Miz, what I really want to talk about, we touched about Alonso being that target man. We never really talked about him being a target man on this side. And I'm glad we did touch on that kind of Mandzukic role, which he plays and helps us to play out from the back.
Yep.
One thing I want to touch on with Alonso also, which we already briefly touched on before, is that his starting position as a left midfielder as
Mm.
opposed to a traditional left wing back.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
before, when we didn't, I wouldn't even say before Lukaku, because we saw this in preseason also, but
Mm.
before, in last season, we would see Alonso's starting position would be here as a
Very high
wide
up.
left
Yep.
winger. And what that would do is that, say, for example, we lose the ball here on the transition many times. Werner wasn't the best of
Yep.
form, and we'd lose the
Then
ball here.
we're a man down then.
Alonso would get lost on the transition.
Correct. Yep.
Um, Today, I think we saw once or twice that Pepe outpaced them
Mm.
from here, right? But let's
Yep.
make no mistake about it. Today, Alonso was superb with the reading of the game. How many times we
Bro,
saw him intercept play today? He intercepted play about 5, 6, 7 times.
so many times. And I don't think Pepe actually even beat him with pace. He kept up because his starting position, as you said, for Alonso was much closer to Pepe. So the pace did not actually affect him one bit. And the interceptions in the first half, there was countless interceptions from Alonso.
But I want to just explain the dynamics a little bit as to why he was allowed that. Because when you're starting from here as a wide winger, your movement to win back the ball would be vertical, up and down. What we'd see is
Mm.
Alonso running back to get back the ball,
Mm.
right? This was different. Today he acted as a left midfielder. Today it really seemed like he was part of a midfield trio with Jorginho, Kovacic, like he was in a 4-4-2, and he was the
Yeah.
left mid. And
Mm.
what would happen is, and then like Havertz was the second striker, and it kind of looked like a 4-4-2. It wasn't a 4-4-2, but his rule looked like a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And what I realized that him his starting position here defensively allows him to make interceptions around here.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have to be running up and down. We would see him playing like a more like how Jorginho defends
Mm.
horizontally like this.
Mm. Mm.
Today we've seen a lot that Alonso was defending like this, making those interceptions here before dangerous play could build into the final third. I think that was so fantastic. Lastly, I want to say in this tactical analysis, I'll
Yeah.
wrap it up with Alonso, is that
Mm.
from this left mid position, we talked about two things so far. That he's a target man, that Mandzukic left mid role. When we build play from the back, We also talked about how he mixes with Havertz to get in behind. And we also talked about defensively, how he can act as a third midfielder to make those interceptions here.
Yep.
What I want to also touch on is that, like Marcelo in Real Madrid, who doesn't overlap as much anymore, who is alongside a Cruz and a Modric, Alonso has that ability to be a very good ball player from these regions too. And I'm not talking about, even though he does switch the play or like that, I'm not talking about being a Xavi or Iniesta like player, but those simple passes just to get it from A to B, A to B, A to B. That's what we need, and that what makes a big difference. And having that third person takes the responsibility out from these two players, three players solely from having to do that, and it makes us less predictable because you're not sure where we're gonna be threatening from.
100% agreed, Ryan. What a fantastic analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed that. We talked about Lukaku's impact and him, dropping in bit deeper and attacking the defenders, then opening up the positions for Reece James. We talked about how Reece James is a lot more clearer. He doesn't need to beat defenders 1v1. He's got that open space because of that Lukaku effect, and how Lukaku also brings in different facets of Havertz and Mason Mount, where they don't have their backs against behind the defenders. They can look up and look for those passes. And very, very importantly, we've understood exactly what the tweak that has been with Alonso this season, and how his performances have been brilliant. And as Ryan has said, he's acting more as a midfielder in recent times. Yes, he does bomb up every now and then to ensure that there's another body into the box, but there has been a tweak, and there is a proper reason as to why he's not getting exposed as much as he has been in the last few seasons. And I think this is fantastic to see. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow Ryan. All his socials are in the description right now. Make sure you go out there and follow him. We're going to try and do this on a regular basis straight after the game is finished. So that you guys get that analytical view. And also make sure to smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. If you're here for the first time, subscribe and check out my socials as well. Please follow, in Instagram, trying to build that platform as well. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, see ya.